Good morning. This is to announce that I have decided to go ahead and publish Bloodsport Pro Wrestling. So for those who don't know, my Bloodsport series began with my invention of the EGE game system. And I invented that system for pro wrestling. And as I played out and tested the system, I decided I think it would be better as gladiators. So the pro wrestling game morphed into Bloodsport Gladiators. And that was it. I had no intention of ever sharing the debut EGE version of wrestling. I have never published a wrestling game. I have shared a couple of prototype wrestling games that I was working on Facebook. Back in the day, we had a playtest group that was playtesting a prototype. And this had become Gladiators, which then became, of course, my EGE book. And I finished Tally Ho, and we now have a brilliant roller derby game using the system, and I have a 1-0 free soccer game that kind of displays how the system can work. But what happened was I wanted to find a way to give Rodney a gift. Rodney had made the historical tomes for my Time Sports games and my Big Country Time Sports games, and there was no way to pay Rodney. There was no way to really thank Rodney sufficiently, and I certainly couldn't afford to pay Rodney. But I wanted to do something special for Rodney, so I decided to go ahead and take all my playtest Bloodsport Pro Wrestling EGE files and typed them up into a personal book, and it became a single printing book that had a thank you in the book, and it had his name in a thank you on the back cover, and that was printed once and mailed directly to Rodney. And I had never, as a gift, a collector's gift, and the only way I could give him was some, specialized gift. And he received it and thanked me, and he also said, "Listen, feel free to, you should publish this. Feel free to share it." And I dropped it. And that was on April 2nd. And so over the last few weeks, or I should say, days, since receiving Christopher's roller derby version of the EGE system and having so much fun playing his roller derby game, I realized I should go back, modify that book, take out the thank you, remove his name from and make a version available for the public. And so for the first time ever, the original EGE game system and my first ever published pro wrestling game is available now for the public. It is a 6x9 black and white wraparound cover booklet, just like all of my books now are 6x9 wraparound, generally black and whites, and they all generally, and many of them feature the EGE system, like Tally Ho or this, or I can't think of the other ones, Parallax Football. They don't feature EGE, but they're all 6x9 books, and they're all black and white. Okay, and they all have some kind of wraparound cover or art in the book. So this is the very first Bloodsport game I ever made, and it was the debut of the EGE system, which again became Gladiators and Tally Ho, and there's a roller derby version. So I decided to go ahead and publish it for what it's worth. Again, all I did was tighten up some language. I removed the personalized note, and I changed the cover, and those who want the debut version of how I use the EGE for this particular game, and the thinking about the EGE system is you can kind of customize, how that range of numbers is used for all kinds of different things, like a war game or a soccer game or a fighting game, or whatever, right? So we've done kind of a version with what like biplane dogfighting war game, and then of course 1-0, how it would work with the soccer pitch, with 22 players on a soccer pitch per role, and gladiators with so many combatants in an arena trying to kill each other, and Bloodsport was a mano, right? So the reason pro wrestling morphed into Gladiators really was wrestling is mostly man versus man, and so I wasn't real happy with that, how that was going. So I thought, this would be better if it represented lots of combatants. So that's how Gladiators came out of this. But in looking back and taking all my notes and typing them up to make the book for Rodney, I realized it's still a great little engine. So you can do mano a mano fighting, but the whole point of pro wrestling was you're a manager, you actually have a stable of wrestlers, and you're trying to win money and etc. And you can wrestle for contracts, so you can actually put your wrestler's contract on the line, or you can wrestle for money or whatever. So it's a management game. Like Gladiators, you managed a stable of gladiators and warriors. Well, in this, you're supposed to manage a stable of wrestlers and be a promoter, so to speak. Anyway, long story short, I thought long and hard. I didn't think long and hard. Rodney said, thank you. This is amazing. I appreciate it, but you should feel free to publish it too. And I just said, no, it's never going to see the light of day. However, that was it. Its fate had been decided. And then, when I saw Christopher's roller derby game, I said, wait a minute, it would be cool so people could see how EGE was used for wrestling. Although it may not be the funnest version of EGE and it may not be the best version of wrestling you could possibly get, but at least that original debut of the engine in pro wrestling might be fun for people to try. So, anyway, so I just wanted to announce that, it says here it was published on April 2nd, but no, this was a private, personalized book that was printed one time and sent to Rodney. And since then, I've updated this file and updated the cover, changed it a little bit, but I used the same slot in my I used the same book slot in my account. So that's why it says April 2nd. Technically today, as of now, 8 a.m. on June 13th is technically when it's gone public to the world. Although it'll say here April 2nd. All right, it's 10 pages, black and white, wraparound cover. And it's really how the engine was originally built for a wrestling game. So for what it's worth, there it is. And again, the price is set like almost all of my booklet games. I try to keep them around $9, $10. And again, they're at risk that every time Lulu increases the prices, they're gonna be pulled, and then I'll have to go in and update this. But there you have it. And so I'll put a link to this for those who are interested in a wrestling. My first published wrestling game. Again, I had prototypes out there that I was sharing with playtest groups years ago. I had a dice pool wrestling game that was kind of fun, but I've just never been content. I mean, I like this wrestling game. It's fun. It's exactly what I want the EG system to be. And I don't know why you would think, my passion is for boxing and football, and I invest a lot of time and energy in boxing and football. And so I want those games to be what I'm looking for when I sit down to play boxing and football. And I've been remarkably reserved about trying to make a professional wrestling game. And part of that is because I didn't grow up watching it. I had very little knowledge, and I still do, of actual history of pro wrestling. I don't know a lot of the wrestlers. I mean, everybody knows Hulk Hogan and some of the big boys, Andre the Giant and, Ric Flair. But I didn't have a healthy respect for what wrestling meant to fans, if that makes sense. So I've always been very reserved about putting, my 2 cents on a wrestling game. That was out of respect for the entertainment. That was out of respect for the fan and respect for the sport. Although I've really enjoyed, there's some wrestling games out there I've really had a great time playing. And so anyway, why have I been, that might explain why I've just not put a lot of energy into a wrestling game. Why I've never been really happy with what I've produced, that I believed were fun. This is fast. It's very simple, to play out bouts. And it's really about managing, creating your wrestlers, managing them, and then, of course, trying to earn money. And then you can use that money to buy more wrestlers. You can use that money to gamble. You can use that money to buy out contracts or whatever. So it's really a fast play wrestling game, right? More of a management game than a wrestling, blow-by-blow wrestling game. So there it is. And for those who are curious, there's a chance to get And again, as you know, some of my books are up for a long, long time. Some of my books are up for a month, and then I pull them, and they can become collector's items. So here's your chance for those who are remotely interested in the original Bloodsport. This was the first Bloodsport title. It was going to be wrestling. It was going to be then boxing. And then it was going to be MMA. I never planned on Gladiators. Gladiators ended up becoming the first Bloodsport game, and then I went ahead and finished kickboxing, and I finished MMA. Kickboxing, though, is just an add-on for Boxing Time bouts. It isn't its own engine. It's really an add-on for Boxing Time bouts, which is a different engine. So now we got Bloodsport Gladiators, which uses the EG system. We have Bloodsport Pro Wrestling, which uses the EG system. We have Bloodsport MMA, which uses a completely unique combat engine. So the MMA game is a completely different engine as well. So, and the kickboxing is just an add-on for Bloodsport for Boxing Time bouts. But it's a kickboxing rule set. Right, but all right, and I don't think that's up anymore. I think I pulled that as it was just it's a very niche, and it's really not a complete game. So I didn't want people buying that thinking they were getting a complete game. They get this thing and they can't play it without Boxing Time bouts. So I pulled that. Anyway, I will shut up now. Everybody have a fantastic weekend. Good day.